All right, wonderful. Welcome, everyone. Happy Tuesday. So excited you all decided to join us this evening. My name is Dr. Stacy Holweger. I am joined by Dr. Tim Tagg, and we are going to be sharing information with you all this evening about LifeWaves, technology, how these patches work, how they can benefit you and help you in your life. But tonight, we're really going to be focusing on detoxes. We know it's the beginning of the year, and I don't know about you, Dr. Tim, I don't have New Year's resolutions, but a lot of people do set New Year's resolutions, or at least they come out of the new year going, I need to make some changes. I've got to get rid of this extra that packed on at the end of last year through all the holidays and the travel and the crazy and the chaos. And so they start thinking about ways to get their body back in balance. And of course, some people, I know you and I do, but some people think about detoxing, this really big word that encompasses a lot of different things that for most people, they're scared of. Let's be honest. No one wants to be on the toilet or in bed with a headache or feeling fatigued or just not feeling themselves through the process of what they think is a typical reaction to a detox. And I'm here to tell you that is not necessarily the case, and most likely not the case, especially if you're doing it on a regular basis. You actually feel incredible. I don't know about you, but I'm excited to hear your experiences, Dr. Tim. But when I do a detox, I feel amazing through it. I feel amazing after, and I'm like, man, I can't wait to my next, or I'll say, I don't even want to stop doing this. I just want to keep going because it feels so good. So we're going to share with you those tips and tricks and kind of, some of our experiences and background. But before we do, I want to share with you LifeWave's disclaimer, and then I do want to share with you Dr. Tim's bio, and then we're going to turn it over to him and he's going to share with us. So of course, the information that we are sharing tonight is for informational purposes only. We are not medical doctors. We're not ear doctor. And so we're not claiming to treat, cure, or diagnose anything that's going on with you. If you have questions about your health in regards to what's going on before you start any routine or program or anything like that, check with your practitioner or your doctor to make sure that this is what's best for you. The information with LifeWave is, of course, informational, and we're going to share websites with you to be able to find out more information on that, the research and the science, the studies. So let me share with you Dr. Tim's bio. So last October, he and his wife are both chiropractors. And they, like I said, they're up in the Grand Rapids, Michigan area. And they celebrated 21 years of serving West Michigan and beyond. Dr. Tim and Dr. Kathy have supported and empowered their patients to understand and implement a more holistic paradigm of health and healing. Through chiropractic care, customized nutrition, and wearable LifeWave technology, they're influencing and helping people obtain a better quality of health and life. They've been married for 27 years. They reside in Grand Rapids with their 2 children. So, Dr. Tim, come on here and tell us a little bit about your experience with detoxing. What are your thoughts, feelings, and give us all your golden nuggets for everybody really wanting to learn more about it.
Well, thank you so much, Dr. Stacy. It is great to be here, and it is a perfect time of year to do detoxes. And that it sounds scary, but you're going to understand how advanced our health can become when we do a detox. And I think back to like around October 1st, I walk into the grocery store and there's this long line of candy bars and suckers and all these sugary things and then all these baked goods. So the holidays kind of begin as far back as that. So we have Halloween. Our kids are gobbling up everything. We're starting to gobble up things. And then we have Thanksgiving, no pun intended. We're gobbling up. And all these processed foods and oh my gosh. And then we have Christmas and just gobbling and cookies and all the stuff is getting into our system. And then finally, here we are. The New Year's is over. And now we're just have to deal with the snow up here in Michigan, which we're getting big flakes today, but that's all right. But it's a great time to start getting healthy again. And I'm going to talk a little bit about some stats. We're going to talk about fasting a little bit, and that's one of my favorite ways to detox. There's multiple things out there. There's pills and there's juices, but to truly detox your body, you want to give it a nice fast, and there's different ways you can do it. Some are more invasive and some are less, but there's a fast for every single person out there. But then we're going to show how the patches will optimize and help support your body during a fast. So to get started is our bodies, folks, are a garbage dump. Okay. Our American diet is so full of so many different things. When you look at the ingredients of a food product, we're talking nitrates, nitrites, potassium bromate, polypropylene, blah, 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 BHA, BHT, TBHQ, titanium dioxide, BVO, PFAS, artificial colors, sweeteners, and flavors. And then we have heavy metals. There's actually heavy metals in our food. And it's mostly like in our processed food supply. So where does all this stuff go? It goes into our body, and a lot of times we cannot pass it. And what happens is all these things, all these metals, all these toxins, they cause irritation to our cells and our organs and our tissues and our liver, and our body doesn't know what to do. And there's a study from November 2018, and I have a source for this too. I can share it on the chat. But 2018, 12% of Americans are metabolically healthy. That's it. 88% of Americans are metabolically unhealthy. Now, this is before the lockdown. This is before the pandemic. So what is it now? I mean, after everything we've been through,
percent.
what is it? 5% now? Is it 100? I mean, just think about it. So yeah, 12% of Americans are metabolically healthy. And metabolically means cardiovascular. It means your waistline. And you don't have to be technically overweight to be metabolically unhealthy. But when things are not working right, that's what happens. And a detox and a fast, even little ones in between, can help prevent all this stuff. So, talking more about the fast, and then we also have genetically modified organisms. I was reading some research. I read a lot of research. So, 90% of our corn supply in the United States, 90% is GMO. This was several years ago. What is it now? And then we have glyphosate sprayed on everything. It's in a lot of the food. And when we intake that stuff, it's a toxin, it's a poison, and there's sides that say it's completely safe. And then there's sides that say, well, as it breaks down, it gets deadlier. It's sobering stuff. And then we got the the EMFs. We're hearing all about the towers and all that stuff. Frequencies. I'm an Air Force veteran, and back in the day, when we would fix an aircraft, we'd have to test out the avionics, and we'd have to cone off certain locations to make sure no airmen stepped in that coned area where we were going to be, testing the avionics, because it was sending out frequencies and signals, because it could harm and irritate those airmen. So, EMFs and signals can do that. So we have this body chaos going on in our body. I mean, just inflammation. It's in our cells. It's in our tissues. It's in our brain. It's just everywhere. So what are we supposed to do? Now I'm going to go back. I'm going to go back Old Testament here, and the Torah, the Bible, Old Testament. God says when you fast, not if, when. Now think about it back then. Now there's a spiritual component. There's a more, you fast and you get more connected with God, and but there's also a healthcare component to that. And I think it was God showing us how to stay healthy. Now, when you think about back then, I mean, their food supply was, probably a lot less, but I'm sure their food had more minerals and more nutrients, and it wasn't, fertilized. If it was fertilized, they use, from animals, and which has minerals and all that. So even back then, they needed, God encouraged us to fast. So how more important is it to do it now?
Mm-hmm.
And fasting is amazing. And it's if you go online, there's still a lot of great research out there. And everything I'm going to talk about here, I have a source for. And like, for example, fasting, when we fast and we give our gut a break, because all we do is we just gobble every day, every morning. Here's a muffin, here's some candies, here's some cookies, and even the drinks, the liquids. Okay, it can cause our gut and our body and our liver and all of our organs, it overworks. Okay, but when we stop eating, okay, the fasting, the gut will start sucking in, and it'll start cleaning the inner portion, the circumference of the intestinal lining. And what happens is you start, those of you that have done a fast, you start to get like this weird sweat. And then it's like, and then you start to stink a little bit. Well, that's your body getting rid of toxins, and it's coming out of your skin, which is an organ, by the way. It's actually it's a continuation of the gut. I know, my apologies, but it's true. It's the skin is continuation. So when we start to fast, we stop eating, our gut is being nice and cleansed and regenerating. And then we get the smell, and then we get that headache. And then after, like, when I first started fasting, I don't know, maybe 15 years ago, I got onto it. My diet wasn't as good as it is now, but I would go through those. I'd start sweating, and then I get the headache. But within like a moment, someday it took a day, sometime it took 2 days or half of a day. But you go from, like, you got the headache and you're blah, and then all of a sudden the headache goes away, and you have this like surge of well-being, like all this energy. It's like, oh my gosh, I'm better. And that's your body getting rid of all that stuff. And then from there, you further improve. And then you start losing some weight. You start losing from the waistline, and you just feel like $1,000,000. But furthermore, fasting, it stimulates the red blood cells. It takes our red blood cells and it energizes them to boost our immunity. And who else? Red blood cells that's a major component to our body. And when we fast, our red blood cells, they turn into little superheroes in there, just by fasting, by not eating. And another thing too about fasting, you know, again, when we gobble everything up, and especially it's ironic that around Halloween, people start getting flu-like symptoms. Okay, it's like, oh my gosh, I got the fever, and I got the sweats, and I'm losing the taste in my mouth, and the just the flu-like symptoms. A lot of it is coming from our diet. It's not necessarily coming from something else. Okay,
Mhm.
because our body is so full of gunk. It's so full of metals. It's so full of glyphosate. It's so full of just everything. And that's why we need to cleanse that out. But what happens is when we fast, the liver, and again, all the gobbling, our livers get clogged and they get gross. Okay.
Mhm.
But what happens is the liver ducts, they get stuck. So we get these patients come in our office and they're like, oh my gosh, I've been sinusy for like 2 or 3 weeks. It's like, well, you got a clogged liver. You need to do a little detox. You need to do a fast. What happens is they start to detox. Those ducts of the liver open up, and then all the stuff starts coming out.
Mhm.
And they're like, oh my gosh, within like a day or two, the pressure was decreasing. It's like, because the liver opened up its ducts, because we're giving the liver a break. We're giving all of our organs a break.
Mhm.
And this is another good thing too. Fasting, it the science says it reboots the immune system. And I think that is so impressive. I've read several studies out there where it optimizes the immune system. It kicks it in the high gear. But so it reboots your body, reboots your defenses, your immune system. And when you really start, it's like, okay, I did my first and second detox. And now when you get kind of used to it, detoxes, you don't get the headaches, you don't get the sweats, you don't really get the flu-like symptoms sometimes. But when everybody else is under the weather and sick, you're good, because yeah, everything's cleaned out and cleansed. Your immune system is cranked up. You are good to go. Now here's my favorite. Okay. Okay. This is X39. Okay.
Oh, yeah.
We're going to get into this, but fasting triggers stem cell regeneration. Whoa. So what happens when you do X39 with fasting?
Ooh.
So you're activating the stem cells with 39. And then as we fast, it's triggering that stem cell activation. So from all sides, from the natural and from the light source, your own light source, this X39. So that's what fasting does, folks. And I highly recommend it. Now I'm gonna address here just a few different fasts, and these are easy ways to do it. Um, I have a colleague of mine in Atlanta, and he does supervised fasts, and like people with severe chronic autoimmune disorders, skin conditions, of course, GI conditions. He puts them, like, we're talking serious fasts, like
Mm.
they need to be supervised. Okay. But the fasts I'm going to tell you about are something you can do on your own at home, and they're completely safe. And the first one is the Daniel fast. Okay. Yeah. Just like Daniel from the Old Testament. And basically, you're a vegetarian for 21 days. But furthermore, when I recommend the Daniel fast, try to get yourself off the technology too. Now, of course, if you have a business and you got to run the business, then do the business. Okay. But just the scrolling of the Facebook or streaming your favorite show, cut all that off because we got to give our brain, we got to give our mental, our spiritual, everything just a break. Okay. Now, the Daniel fast too, folks, it's recommended 21 days, but if you can do 3 or 4 days, do 3 or 4 days. Something is better than nothing. And even after like 3 or 4 days, you'll get the sweats, you'll get that little headache, and then you'll get that big surge of well-being. Okay, you did something. So if you can do it for that amount of time, fine. And then do it maybe 3 months later or 6 months later. Okay, you can start, working your way into that.
So, Dr. Tim, let me ask you a
Yes.
question really quick because I've never done the Daniel fast, I don't
Yep.
think. So, you're saying only water, or are you saying only eat vegetarian foods?
You can eat vegetarian and you can eat as much as you want. And of
I
course, with
was vegan for 8 years.
yeah,
I
right.
did the Daniel fast for 8 years.
You
Okay.
did. You did.
Oh,
And
that's
and
easy. Perfect.
right. And of course, with all the fasting and everything I talk about, yeah, you need lots of water. I mean,
Yeah.
because you got to flush out all the toxins.
Perfect.
But
Okay. Thank you for
I s-
that
I
clarification.
did I did the Daniel fast first like 5 years ago, and I'm like, okay, so you can eat as much because I'm a meat eater. I don't eat a lot of red meat or a lot of chicken, but I eat a little bit each week. Okay, I eat a lot of eggs and stuff, but fresh vegetables. But I'm like, I'm not going to feel anything. And I did that Daniel fast, Dr. Stacy, and for 3 days, I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm getting that headache. I'm getting the sweats. But I also, like I said, I turned everything off. But the Daniel fast, it's dynamic. But another way to fast is called the intermittent fasting. Okay, and intermittent fasting is pretty much easy. You don't eat for like 16 hours. Okay, you're done eating at 8 o'clock p.m. and you don't eat until like 12 noon the next day. Okay, and you can modify the times, but as long as there's like 16, some people do like 20 hours, and I can't do that. But a lot of my typical day, like I'll intermittent fast like 3 times a week because that's just kind of my normal diet. I don't really eat a lot of breakfast. Um, but you know, intermittent fasting, smaller portions, try to get good quality fresh foods. And again, folks, be careful with our food supply because there's metals and all these things are previously addressed. What's in it? And it gets stored and it gets stuck into our body. So try to eat as fresh as you can. Now, this is another I weight train. So this is like my weight training fast, and it's kind of funny, but it's my egg and chicken broth fast. Okay. You get up in the morning and you can eat like 2 to 4 eggs. You can eat 6 eggs if you want. Cause when I say eggs, I'm talking good farm fresh, organic, good quality eggs. So you get this big surge of protein in the morning. And then around lunchtime, um, you make, you juice. Okay. I don't know if anybody has a juice machine, but you get your juicer and you make something that's green. It doesn't matter what vegetables you use. You could use celery and green leafy vegetables, anything, and then add a couple of Granny Smith green apples. Okay, but just make a nice green drink. And when it comes to juicing, okay, I'm not talking. Don't make a big giant shake. Get something like 4 to 8 ounces tops. And when you drink it, you want to sip of the juice. Okay. And some people actually talk about chewing it. Okay. Because you can't take like, 2 apples and 3 stalks of celery and a bunch of green leafy vegetables. And because your body's like, what is going on? And then where's all the pulp and where's all the other parts? So you want to drink it slow, even like take 10 minutes, 4 to 8 ounces. And what that does, the green stuff, it actually helps cleanse your body of certain toxins and especially metals. Um, like gets rid of all the aluminum and just it's so add that. And then for dinner, you get a little the soup box. It's just the chicken broth. You can get it from health food stores, not chicken noodle soup, just the chicken broth, and have that for dinner. And do it for 2 days, do it for 3 days, do it for 7 days. Okay. And again, these are for people that exercises and weight trains and all that stuff because they're still getting all the protein and they're still getting all the nutrients. Um, and they can still eat a little bit. So, those three types of fasts I recommend. And even with the Daniel and the intermittent, try to get that green juicing. I don't juice a lot. But when I do a fast, I'll make a nice green, and you can even put carrots and stuff in it. Just a nice green juicing concoction because it helps get a lot of the metals out of there. So, um, yeah. So
Yeah, I'm a huge
those are my
intermittent faster. I've done that for about 10 years. So I'm a
yeah,
16/8, and
right.
it makes a huge difference in being able to give your body that rest. So you're not trying to digest food all the time. So then what's it do? It goes and cleans up all the debris, all the toxins that you were talking about. It's very important. And I'm huge on greens. Like the greener
Oh,
the better in the juice. I don't need anything sweet in it. I love fresh juices, that's for sure. So I'm right
yeah,
there with
there's
you on those.
right, right. And in the fresh stuff, it again, it has nutrients inside it, but it also has qualities in it to get rid of
Mhm.
all the metals and all the garbage and stuff like
Oh,
that.
yeah,
So,
definitely.
yeah. And one thing about fasting too, it's called a Herxheimer reaction.
Mm,
Herxheimer. And I was doing a fast several years ago, and I was gosh, what we were doing. We were doing the coconut oil, putting it underneath our
mhm.
tongue. And I got sick for 2 weeks. I'm like, what happened? Well, what happened is in my salivary glands, it killed all the bacteria. And in the salivary glands, the bacteria holds on to any mercury I've had in my body. So I gave myself mercury poisoning
Oh,
just by doing a fast the wrong way. Okay.
whoops.
So if you're interested in doing another type of fast, make sure you question a doctor, a naturopath, or something like that. But doing the what I just talked about, the previous fasts, you won't get that effect. So
Yeah, no, I totally agree. I think it's great to be able to add in some of the really good healthy foods. And the big thing is cutting out the processed foods, the
oh yeah.
packaged foods, the things that are, extremely toxic that we know sugar has 54 different names. And so if you have something that has a paragraph on the back, probably one of those names is a fake sugar name, right? Fake name for sugar. And so we want to be able to help eliminate those things from our body so our body can start to take over and function the way it should. So I think this is a perfect time. That was just so much great information. I know we got a lot of questions in here, so I'll filter through those here in a minute in the chat. But let's talk a little bit about X39. Let's talk about how the patch works. Obviously, as a chiropractor in your practice, you're utilizing this with your patients, obviously in your family. So let's talk about how the patch works and just give a brief overview of that. And then we're going to dive into not only the detox benefits of X39, but we're going to get into some of the other patches as well too, and how they can help your body to eliminate toxins in different ways. And there's different components and mechanisms inside of the body that these all work synergistically together. So would you like to tell us how this patch works, Dr. Tim?
Absolutely, Dr. Stacy. And if there's one thing I've noticed with the patches bring order to our chaotic bodies. Everything I mentioned previously with all the EMFs and the glyphosates and all that, patches help bring order. Okay. And that's what I love about these things. And this is the X39 patch. And if you notice, it's got a number 30 on it. So there's 30 patches in it. And take one out here. And this is what it looks like. Okay. Now you see that little space in the middle here. This is the technology. Okay. And this is like a waterproof Band-Aid, basically. It's hypoallergenic. And inside here is an organic crystal lattice, and it's formed with stabilized oxygen, sugars, and salts. And a couple of weeks ago, I actually looked at this under a microscope, and this looks like Superman's Fortress of Solitude. It looks just like something white, but it's crystal when you get a reflection. Now, what this does is when you take this and you take off the paper, and then you put it on a certain part of your body. Now, here's the cool thing. This is non-transdermal. And this is what I liked about this patch when I saw this on a patient of mine, and for several months, I didn't ask what it was. I thought maybe it was, smoking or weight loss, but he's like, yeah, I asked him one day and he said, it's a non-transdermal. I'm like, tell me more. And what it does is when you put this on your body, okay, you stick it stick it, let's just say, for example, right here, what happens is the infrared light that your body is emanating. Okay. And if you've ever watched like a military type show and they show like the infrared scopes and they can see people in the dark and they're a bright white light, that's the infrared light. Okay. That infrared light hits this technology, this biotech patch, and it reflects it right back into the body. Okay. Now here's the cool thing. It stimulates it's called GHKCU copper peptide. Now you think, well, okay, no big deal. What's a copper peptide? Well, copper peptide is this. Okay. This is Dr. Picard's book. Look how thick this is. I highly recommend this book because it talks about copper peptides for skin, hair, and beauty. All right. Now, I'll go further in a second, but then we have Dr. Harmon's How to Reverse Aging. So you see where I'm going with this. Okay. Again, with the fasting, it talked about activating the stem cells. So this patch here will also activate the stem cells because what copper peptides do is once they're stimulated, they look for the stem cells and they activate stem cells. And what a stem cell is we've heard about it, injections and all that. A stem cell they're cells in your body that are undifferentiated. All right. So they're cells and they don't know what to do until they're told. So for example, our body is in constant homeostasis. So those stem cells go where they need to go. Okay. And then they become what they need to become. The problem is as we age, the percentage, the stem cells go dormant. So by the time we're in our 30s, like 50% of our stem cells go dormant. When we're in our 60s, like 90% goes dormant. So, and that's why we start getting the gray hair and we start looking old. It's because of those stem cells. Well, this here will help reverse that. And there's two types of aging. There's chronological aging. Like I'm turning 51 here in a week and a half. I was born in 1973. My chronological age is going to be 51. There's chronological age and then there's biological age. Biological age is how well have you taken care of your body over the past 51 years? There's 51-year-old men out there and they haven't taken care of themselves. They've been smoking. They don't exercise. They don't eat right. They don't function. They don't drink anything. They're not only is their health not as good, they're not living optimally, but their age is less than mine. Okay. Like my chronological age is 51, but my biological age might be 27 compared to someone with a chronological age of 51. Their biological age might be like 75. That's a whole other podcast. So my apology, but there's a difference. So, but again, you put this patch on, light reflects, it stimulates the copper peptides, and then it activates the stem cells, and it goes throughout the body. Now, here's the good thing, folks. As we're fasting, okay, this is a good thing to wear, okay, because you're fasting, and then as your body's getting rid of all the gunk, your stem cells are going where they need to go. So this is going to help support your fast, okay? And I like to use the word optimize or bring order to the body.
Mm-hmm.
And my recommendation is, let's say you're going to do a fast. Let's say you do the Daniel fast. I would recommend the following patches here and wear them like 3 days. I mean, I wear X39, AN, and X49. Those are like my 3 patches. AN it's an anti-inflammatory. I don't like to use the word anti-inflammatory. It gets rid of inflammation. And the X49 is for muscle and bone. And those 3, if you exercise and weight train, those are the 3 awesome ones. But what's nice about the X39, it also raises your glutathione by 30%. Glutathione is it's like a systemic organ antioxidant. And glutathione is like one of the major components to long life. When they find these communities with people living over 100 and they all have high glutathione levels.
Mm-hmm.
And that's not even using that. We have a glutathione patch, which increases it 300% over like 24 hours. But again, this is to support the fasting. So my recommendation for fasting is make sure if you're not wearing like a 39, put it on 3 days before and wear it through the fast and then 3 days after. But most of you are probably wearing it all the time anyhow. But during a fast, I recommend 39. I recommend Aeon, and then I recommend SP6. And again, these are just my recommendations. What's nice about SP6 is you can wear this at night, and this helps reduce cravings. Because what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to prevent one of those Herxheimer effect reactions. And even if you wore all of these, I doubt you would have one. Okay. And the healthier you are, the less opportunity you're even going to feel ill or sick, from a fast. But these three here this is what I recommend. You wear these, the Aeon and the 39 you put on for 12 hours. So you get up in the morning, you throw it on, 12 hours, you take it off. And that's what's nice about these patches. And all the patches are like this. And if you're not patching up yet, these patches, the way it works is for every decade you've been alive, you want to wear a patch for a month. Okay. So, but again, there's so much to it, but I'm kind of talking more just, the patch support you need, during a fast. And then get through the fast. And then after the fast, you can throw on an X49. And X49, I don't have one with me. I got them at the office, but it's actually it's a copper peptide. It's a daughter peptide of the X39. It's AHKCU. And it's good for like muscles, and it's good for bones, and power. Okay. But post fast or after the fast, you can throw on some carnosine, the carnosine patch, and that's for cardiovascular system in the brain, because when you fast, our brain gets rid of the gunk too, so you want to help bring back that support. And then you have the glutathione patch, which is overall, that's where it raises it in your body 300%, and it'll help replenish all that in your body. And those are the three I recommend, like after, but you could probably wear them during the fast too. So, yeah, but
All right.
that's kind of my story.
I love that as a suggestion. And there's a lot of questions here in the chat. So we're going to get to those here in just a second. So X39, let me kind of go over this again so I make sure you get what you're saying. So you're recommending everyone start with X39. If you're not using X39, definitely use X39. It's going to help elevate your glutathione about 30%, which is a big antioxidant. That is the master antioxidant and detoxer. So it's going to help the body to eliminate some of these toxins. If you're doing a fast, obviously, like you said, you can feel when your gut starts to, I always say it feels like my stomach's eating itself, like from the inside out. You can feel that feeling when that stomach starts to go down into the intestines and really starts to cleanse things out down there. That feeling is kind of like, okay, something's happening in here. So you're going to help activate your own stem cells that way through your fast. But you're also going to activate your own stem cells through using X39.
Right.
And those stem cells are going to go to work to repair some damage, right? Starting getting woke up, and depending on your age, of course, how long you're going to wear it. But we're going to start that process by elevating that peptide of getting our body to repair and regenerate, right? Get that going. So you're fasting, maybe you're doing the Daniel fast for a few days, and you're, of course, you're consuming water, half your body weight in ounces. You can see my lime floating in mine. That is an organic lime that I've squeezed in there. But, using something, to be able to get yourself that water intake every single day is really important, of course, while you're patching. So we're going to use that X39. Okay, so I want to talk a little bit more about Eon. So when we think of, we have trillions of cells in our body, and we think of these cells as basically they're responsible for so many things. But when we think of inflammation in the cells, we know that our cells become inflamed, our body becomes inflamed. We can say diet, lifestyle. It's not just that you're eating processed packaged foods, or that you are, consuming, things that are toxic. It's really the inflammation comes from stress, right? Our thoughts cause inflammatory processes in our body. And we also look at personal care products, cleaning products. You mentioned some different types of BPAs and BHCs and all these different types of phthalates and all this all this glyphosate and all this stuff, all these toxins. We don't even know how to pronounce most of them, but all of these things cause our cells to be inflamed. Right. And I was listening to somebody the other day, and he said, if you lose, 6 pounds in a week, you're not losing 6 pounds of fat in a week. Right. Obviously, if you do a fast and you drop some weight, you're going to drop some water weight, you're probably going to drop some inflammation. Right? You're going to lose some of that inflammation in your body. And so, Eon, like you said, brings down inflammatory markers in the body. So, that would be something that would be beneficial to help to detox, is when you're helping to pull some of the inflammation out of those cells. Would you agree with that? Is that how
Absolutely.
you would describe that?
Yes. Yep.
Okay, so we're using Eon to help bring some of that inflammation out, bring down those inflammatory markers, so then your cell to cell communication is better, right? Your body starts able to detox better. I remember years ago, I used to be with a company, and we talked about your toxins are stored in your fat cells. And if we can pull some of these toxins out of the fat cells with these, certain, all natural components, then we're going to be able to help to shrink those fat cells. And so I always remember talking about that. But I think about that a lot. If inflammation's in my cells and my cells are inflamed, they're not functioning correctly, toxins get stored in my cells. We know toxins get stored in organs and tissues as well too, and they're floating around. That's what we call free radicals. But if toxins are stored in there, my X39 is helping pull some of those toxins out. The Eon's helping to reduce the inflammation in the cells. That sounds like that would be something that would be very beneficial for detoxing, is to be able to help reduce inflammation while you're activating
Right.
GHK and
Yep.
glutathione as well.
It's all supporting. And just, another thing, we had a patient, and, you know, and there's people that they want to start eating healthy and they want to become healthier. And then they change their diet, but nothing is happening. They're not losing any weight and they're not feeling any better. And here's what's happening is again, it comes down to the liver. Our American diet just, it pounds the liver. It gets fatty, it gets gross, it doesn't function right. When you open up those ducts of the liver, everything starts flushing out. And
Mm-hmm.
again, we had a patient, and she didn't feel well for several years, and she tried everything to lose weight. Well, we simply put her on a little fast, and within a few days, she started losing weight. And within, thought she was kidding, but within like 3 weeks, she lost 25 pounds. And it was 25 pounds of just gunk and
Mm-hmm.
muck and inflammation, because the liver ducts were just clogged up and just holding everything in.
Yep.
So yes, and the Aeon, it helps open those up, and it helps get rid of all that inflammation.
Mm-hmm.
That's what's beautiful about the patches, Dr. Stacy. It's the perfect support. And I would like to hear feedback from people that, they go on a fast or a detox and they use these patches. I want to know how it went too.
Mm-hmm.
So their whatever testimony page or something, how did it go? Did you have any Herxheimer reactions? Did you get the headache?
Mm-hmm.
Because I think with the patches, it's going to make detoxing and it's going to make fasting so much easier.
Agreed, agreed. Using the patches is definitely going to, and I love how you incorporated SP6 to help curb your appetite a little.
Right.
That's always a nice benefit when you're working on balancing that endocrine system. Being able to curb your appetite helps through those fasts. And of course, you mentioned, doing, maybe if you're lifting weights like you and I are, we do the eggs in the morning, we'll do the chicken broth, we'll do the juicing and those kinds of things to kind of tide us over a little bit. Have you ever done just a strictly water fast?
I have not. I could, no. Maybe when I get older, but not, no. I'll
Get
do a
older.
Daniel fast or like intermittent, but I've never done strictly water.
Oh my gosh. Well, somehow I got introduced to detoxing when I was 18. So that's obviously 28, 38, 40, 32 years ago when I got introduced to detoxing. My first detox was you got a gallon of distilled water for each day of the 7 days of the week. And you put fresh squeezed lemon juice in and cayenne pepper. And you drank that gallon throughout the day, every day for 7 days. So that
Wow.
was my first detox I did at age 18. So I think I did the hardest one first, I think. So the rest of them were a piece of cake. But I love that, that you're recommending, for, because sometimes when you say to people like cut out food. You're going to cut out food for 24 hours. No food for 24 hours. We're like, oh, no, no, no. And then you also get into blood sugar issues and you have to be really careful with that. So we're not saying go and cut out food. We're saying maybe restrict the times that you're eating, or restrict maybe the types of food so that you are cutting out those processed packaged foods, your lunch meats, your things like that are full of all these chemicals and saturated fats that are just not good for you at all, right? The fried foods. I saw a thing the other day where the doctor was talking about you are going to have more inflammation in your body from French fries than cigarettes.
Oh yeah.
The studies are in to say you're going to be inflamed for like 6 to 8 hours after smoking a cigarette, which means if you're smoking all day, you're constantly inflamed. But if you eat French fries, that inflammation is going to be there for days. Versus if you just had one cigarette versus one thing of French fries. I was like, whoa, that's crazy. No, do not recommend smoking. Not saying that, but also don't recommend French fries, right? Cut up your own fries and stick them in the oven or whatever in the skillet, make them yourself. They're gonna be amazing. So let's dive a little bit deeper into these patches because we've got about 15 minutes left, and I know we have some questions in here. So we talked about X39, we talked about Eon, you mentioned X49 to be able to help support the bones and the muscles, right? Of course, and your cardiovascular system, your neurological system, which is helping to detox too. You also talked about carnosine. I heard you mention carnosine. Carnosine is one of my favorite
Love carnosine.
antioxidants. It's huge for the brain and the heart and the muscles and the organs. Man, it's so powerful for the organs. So antioxidants are those substances that go in and chomp up free radicals. They're like Pac-Man that eat those ghosts, right? And so we want to make sure we have plenty of antioxidants in our body, and carnosine declines as we age. So that's a fantastic patch to be able to help reduce the toxic load in the body, those free radicals. And then, of course, glutathione. Now, we talked about it in our X39 elevating 30%, but the actual glutathione patch elevates over 300%. And you mentioned the blue zones. And of course, we have
Blue
one
zone.
here in the US, Loma Linda out in California, the 7-Day Adventists. They are primarily vegetarian. And so they have, life expectancy. They're living well over 100, 120 years old. And so being able to, we test these people, obviously they're all over the world, 5 places. We see they have the highest level of glutathione. They're obviously living the longest. So something's telling you it's helping to clean out toxins. It's helping to boost their immune system. I'm not saying they're patching, even though I have mailed patches to Loma Linda. I do have a team up there, I think through Leah Stastny. So I know we have people in Loma Linda patching, but I'm just saying the oldest people on the planet have high glutathione based on their practices, their lifestyle choices, their diet, and the things they're exposed to. So you and I had talked a little bit about, I want to talk about one more patch before we do the questions. We talked about energy enhancer. And energy enhancer is the first patch that David invented, over 20 years ago. And he invented it for the Navy SEALs to help trigger beta oxidation, which just means turns body fat into fuel. Does anybody need their body fat turned into fuel right now at this time of year? So that's a beautiful benefit. But let's talk about how it benefits the lymphatic system, or not, we know it does. What would you say with lymphatic system and detoxing, whether you're fasting or using the patches or the combination of both is what we recommend, of course. What's the importance of that lymphatic system being turned over for detoxification?
Well, Dr. Stacy, it's, another thing about patches and another thing about fasting and detoxing is what are you eliminating now that is going to stay in your body for another 10 or 20 years and could turn into something worse? It's so important to keep that flowing, and especially in the lymphatics, because when you hear about certain, debilitating diagnoses, a lot of times they find something in the lymphatics.
Mm-hmm.
So, and again, the lymphatic system is another thing. When we fast, it's the lymphatic system. It's also kicking stuff out, and it's also cleansing itself. And again, what is it getting rid of that would not have happened if you didn't do the detox or the fast? So the energy enhancer, it enhances that lymphatic removal. Okay. So that system is so important because the lymphatic system, it's the filter of the body. When there's something that's diabolical in the body, the lymphatic system, it's like, okay, it brings it in and it brings it up and it pushes it out, and then out the gut it comes.
Mm-hmm.
And the energy enhancer, it enhances that by, I don't, it's dynamic. So,
Yeah, it really is. When we look at anything in the body, like you said, the lymphatic system is going to be that's drainage system. And so you're going
right.
to look at that, the function of that lymphatic system. I was watching another video. I watch a lot of videos of doctors and research and stuff. I read a lot and I watch a lot every day because I'm a sponge for information and I want to know all the things out there because I want to use them on myself, right? I want to be a guinea pig to be here for a long time. And so this doctor was saying that, we have over 600 lymph nodes in our body, and over a third of them are from the collarbone up. I'm like, oh my God. I always kind of say, no, don't do the hair and scalp massage. I'm good. I don't want to mess up my hair. Now I'm gonna go get a massage and be like, come on, I need you to do all of my head and my scalp. There's lymph nodes throughout our whole body. And I watched another video today of this guy saying, 9 times here, 9 times here, 9 here,
Mhm.
behind the legs, the groin area, and then rebound. I rebound every day. So rebounding, I know Dr. Stan's huge on rebounding. But then, there's this point at the top of the tibia to really like flush that whole lymphatic system. I'm like, well, that makes sense. Let's do that. And of course, then I'm, in the bathroom peeing all day long. I'm like, this is fantastic. This is what we want, right? We want those toxins out of the body. We want to get those things moving. And so if your lymphatic system is sluggish, we know exercise. Movement turns over the lymphatic system faster, right? We know that. But we can give it a boost for those of you maybe that I'm going to say probably I'm not going to be outside exercising in Grand Rapids or Kansas City this weekend when the temperature is below 32. So we're going to need to turn over our lymphatic system, right, using energy enhancer to keep that toxin flow moving out. But obviously, there's things you can do indoors. We all can. You can just lay on your floor and kick your legs or something. I don't know. There's body weight movements you can always do. So that energy enhancer is really important in that detoxification process too, because of how it impacts the lymphatic system, wouldn't you say?
Yes. And, in our office, we get, especially at this time of year, we get patients that come in and they're, Dr. Tim, look at my neck, and they got this big bump right here. And, I pretty much know what it is right away. So I go up there and yeah, it's a swollen lymph node. But if they're smushy and sore, that's a good thing. I'm like, it's doing what it needs to do. It's going to go down. Okay. When they're kind of hard as a rock and they're big, but not too big, that's what you want to really, it's like, okay, go get that checked out. But when they're big and they're kind of swollen and smushy and sore, it's doing what it needs to do. However, put on that energy enhancer patch, streamline that process so it doesn't have to swell up and you don't have to get scared.
Mm-hmm.
But again, it's gonna flush the stuff out much quicker and more efficient.
Yeah, absolutely. And I want to mention again water, drinking pure, clean, healthy water. Half your body weight in ounces is your goal every single day. We love to use Celtic sea salt. You can put a pinch. I do this every day. Put one little crystal actually on my tongue. When you put the Celtic sea salt on your tongue, it has over 92 trace minerals, 3 different types of magnesium. Most people are deficient in magnesium in that Celtic sea salt. It pulls all the water into your tissues and cells where you need them. You need to stay hydrated with the patches. You need to stay hydrated through a fast. You need to stay hydrated, period, no matter what, right? Your skin, your organs, everything needs water. And so you feel better when you have water. You're not as hungry when you have water in your body. So using that Celtic sea salt, a little pitch in your water or, one crystal on your tongue before each glass is going to really help to keep your body hydrated, especially through any type of detox. Okay. So let's go to a couple questions. We've got about 10 minutes left and people want to know, what if they are on medications? Can they still use the patch?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Because the patches, they support the body. Okay. So your body's going to do, and your body is craving for how else can my health be optimized? Okay. So especially 39 and AN, those are considered, I heard the dynamic duo. Okay. So you get the 39, and that's taking the stem cells and it's taking the stem cells where they need to go. All right. Regardless of what you're taking, that process needs to happen because you're going to become healthier along with it. And again, with the AN and getting rid of the inflammation. Okay. So those two, even when you're on medications, of course, you can use the patches.
Okay, somebody else wants to know, why would you use SP6 at night versus the day?
Well, you can use it during the day, but with fasting, I'm more of I like to use less sometimes, and I think that's in reference to people that haven't really fasted yet. I just don't want too much going on at one time. So
Mhm.
that's where it's putting on the SP6 at night. Now, okay, let me go back to that. If try SP6 at night and see if you have cravings during the day. If you still have cravings during the day, then use SP6 during the day. But I think if you wear SP6 at night, that's just one less patch you got to wear during the day. And again, you won't, and if you don't have the cravings, then wear it at night. But if you do have the cravings, then yeah, you can wear SP6 at nighttime
Okay,
or
perfect.
during the day.
During the day.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, and it just depends too. Like my husband, he's always hungry at night. He could snack right before he goes to bed. Like
Yep.
you got to give your body that break, you know? So we're
And
all
when
different
you
in when we're hungry.
yeah, and when you fast, I mean, it's like you wake up at night and it's like, oh, all I got to do is go to the pantry. All I got to do is go to that fridge. So you're kind of like, you know, staving off those
Yeah,
cravings during the night.
yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
So what's a good placement for energy enhancer for fasting? What's your recommendation for that?
Um, I put mine mine goes like on my belly. We do a little bit of biofield testing in my office, and
Mhm.
energy enhancer just it loves my gut.
You know, I was talking to somebody today about our tummy reduction protocol, and I was sharing how Gloria, we did this for the first time 2 years ago, and Gloria said the same thing. She took energy enhancer and she put one up like above each muffin top area, she said, and boy, it just seemed to like suck the fat right off of them.
Right. Well,
So, yeah,
our gut, it's almost like it's like a satellite dish, just the way the tissues and the nerves, and
yeah,
there's something about that, and that's where energy enhancer, at least for me. Um, but you can almost put energy enhancer anywhere in the body.
yeah,
But I think the especially if you're trying to like lose some weight and kind of trim up a little bit,
yeah.
that's a good spot for it.
Yeah, and I totally agree with that. You know, the thing is, the energy enhancer, we have 6 different options in the booklet for you to pick. You know, the lung points if you've got phlegm or something like that. You can do, you've got your knee points, the ankle, you know, different points on the wrist or tops of the hands. But you can really put them anywhere as
Yeah,
long as you have white right and tan left. That's the big thing with energy enhancer. They are a 2 patch system. So you do need to have white on the right side of the body and tan on the left side of the body. They don't go clockwise. So keep white right, tan left, but you can really put them anywhere because they're working with the polarity of your body to trigger that beta oxidation. So are you familiar with rebounding, Dr. Tim?
um is it like in reference to you're going back to your original state after you've tried to, is that what you're?
No. Okay. So I had mentioned rebounding when I was just
Yeah,
rattling off
yeah,
stuff. So when you think about turning over your lymphatic system, it's like a baby trampoline, right?
right.
It's like this big, right? It's bigger than your body. It's not this big. But you stand on it and you bounce like you're on a trampoline. But it's huge for your lymphatic system. I do that for 2 minutes every day before I do my workout. I'll rebound. And so that
Oh,
gets
focus.
all, yeah, rebounding like wing, 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 you know, like you're a jackrabbit or something jumping up and down. But it really helps to turn over that lymphatic system and get all of those lymph nodes opened up in your body. So someone was asking,
Absolutely, because our bodies are swamps, and
yeah.
we get patients all the time, and they have sitting jobs, and a lot of them they don't move, and our body can become a swamp. So thank you for. I'm going to start rebounding. Thank
Yes.
you for
And
that advice.
you can bring that this weekend and we'll just do that before our meetings, okay?
Yeah, we're going to
We can just
rebound, get the lymphs. Yep.
that would be fantastic because I'm not traveling with mine. Now, Dr. Stan travels with his rebounder, but I'm not personally going to travel with mine. I'm not carrying a suitcase that big. So definitely, it's really good for you though. Okay, so someone said she hears that people do lose weight using the patches. Are there any patches to avoid if you can't afford losing weight? They want the health and wellness benefits, but not the weight loss. And so, you know, I would say all of our patches are about balance. No patch is going to throw you one direction or the other. But what are your takes on that, Dr. Chan? What would you think?
I would go X39 Aeon and X49 all the way with
Mhm.
something like that.
Yeah.
Because again, you got the removing the inflammation, you got the stem cells, but the X49. with the bone and the muscle. That's those three there, and maybe an energy enhancer every now and then, but those three with that type of individual, I think they would do well with that.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. Okay, so somebody was asking about the fast. You said wear the X39 patch. Okay, so I don't think you said this, but I want to make sure. She said, did he say to wear it straight through for 3 days straight, or 12 hours on, 12 hours off for 3 days
Yeah,
before you start a fast?
yeah. Let me rephrase that. It's like
Okay.
if you're kind of new to the patches, you want to put it on like it's like if you're going to start your fast on a Saturday, then start throwing the put the patches on like around Wednesday or Thursday. Okay, even 2 or 3 days in advance, just to get your body. It's like, oh, okay, good. This is good. I got the stem cells going on. But yes, 12 hours on, and then 12 hours off. So you want to wear the patch 3 days before, through the fast, and then 3 days after. Okay, and then 12 hours on, 12 hours off. But again, that's for somebody, I guess, kind of new to patching, but I wear 39 every day. I wear Aeon every day. I wear 49 every day. So
Yeah.
that I think that's more of just if you want to do a fast and yeah, but I wear it every day. But yeah, 12 hours on, 12 hours off.
I totally agree. I mean, I don't, if you haven't patched yet, you don't have to start patching before you do a detox or a fast or anything like that. So if it's and you're new to it, there's no like you start here and stop here. We just patch. I'm 2.5 years into this. Why am I still patching? Well, because I feel like I'm 25, and according to my biomarkers, they're showing that too. So my systems and organs and cells are functioning half of my age, and that's really important to me for prevention and vitality and longevity and being able to keep my body young and youthful and functioning correctly. I kind of act like our body's a car,
Yeah,
in that you got to take care of your car, right? If you don't change the oil in the car is not going to drive. It will
yeah,
lock up on you.
it
And if
will.
you're in your 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, and you've never done any kind of fast or any kind of detox or anything to boost, to get rid of toxins or to reduce that inflammation, whatever, ooh, your car is probably not real happy, right? You can't go without doing those things. So we got to change that oil, which means we've got to help eliminate these toxins. And especially, I would say, especially, and I know we're right the same age. I'm going to be 50 this year. And so I know that when we were kids, we didn't have the kinds of things that we are bombarded with today. We
Right.
didn't have all of these toxins in our foods and in our air and our environment. We didn't have phones, you guys. We didn't have
Mhm.
desktop computers like this when we were kids. We had the Commodore 64 with a big old floppy disk, right? If
Mhm.
you were lucky to get in a classroom with that, you were like, this is the big time. There were no EMFs coming off that thing worrying
Okay.
about us. We were
Mhm.
outside playing anyways, rolling in the dirt. We were picking up those ringworms naturally out there on the ball field, right? But we were also detoxing easy because we didn't have all this stuff. So we have to think about our environment and our foods and our water and our stress today. It's so important that we do this. So let's talk about this real quick. Someone says, is this similar to or different from like a PEMF or terahertz? Are the patches similar to that? She said it seems like they're both targeting inflammation and cellular repair detoxing. Are you familiar with PEMF or terahertz?
Not really.
Okay, so PEMF, a lot of people will lay on these mats and they help with circulation and help to, help the body to repair. So our patch, those are great. I'm not a big fan of the terahertz personally. I'm not going to hold a blow dryer next to a certain spot over and over again, and you got to be really careful with that one. So that's not something I'm very pro, I'll just say that. PEMF, absolutely. I think it's fantastic. If you have the time to lay on one, if you have the money to buy one. But our patches are very different than that. They do not need an outside source of anything. They don't require us to do literally anything but put this little band-aid on our body and go about our day. That's all we need to do and take it off 12 hours later. So it works at the cellular level, activating peptides. So this is what I would say more of like a peptide therapy, activating different peptides in our body to cause these biochemical reactions that are happening. So very different than those devices for sure. So I know we still had a few other questions in here, and I appreciate those of you that have went in and answered some questions in there as well too. So thank you for being in there and helping out. Dr. Tim, thank you for being here tonight with me. Thank you for your expertise and sharing your personal experience. And of course, I learned things. I thought a 21-day Daniel fast was no food or water, or no food for 21 days. I thought I was going to have to drink just water. I'm like, oh, maybe when I get older. But now that I know I've been doing it for 8 years, it's perfectly fine. So I appreciate all of your time that you took to share with the patches, your information. I know you said you had some information you were going to share as well too, some links or different things like that to your studies. And so I will be posting the video on my YouTube channel, this recording. So if you want to post that information there in the feed underneath it, I think people would probably appreciate that. Any references or resources you have. We're so grateful that you took the time to be here this tonight, and I look forward to seeing you this weekend.
Well, thank you so much for the invite, Dr. Stacy, and thank you everybody for showing up. And again, there's with our health, there's always hope. There's a lot of scary things going on out there, but these patches, I love these patches. Check them, if you're not patching yet, get yourself some patches and you'll see that you can live a more better optimized life.
Yeah, absolutely. 100%. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Have a fantastic evening.